Yeah, good afternoon, Lohita.
So shall we begin the session if you are free?
Yeah, just a second. I'll just have water.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's session for South India Business Week, Day 10. We have Vijay sir here. Sir is going to talk about sustainable farming and sustainable agriculture. So sir is the CEO and director of AG Hub, Agri Innovation Hub. So good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to today's panel.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
So before I begin, sir, can you please tell us about your organization?
Sure. So, hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Vijay Nadiminti. I'm CEO and director of Agri Hub. First of all, I'm a horticulture graduate and management professional in agribusiness. For the last couple of years, I would say precisely 15 years, I've been in the agribusiness industry working for corporates, non-profits, and of course, the government sector. The last 9.5 years, I've been in the agri innovation space building incubators. Prior to this, A-Idea and now Agri Hub, and have built almost very closely 180 startups as a part of the ecosystem building and built various platforms, including launching 2 incubators, A-Idea and Agri Hub, launched India's first food and agri accelerator, Agri Hub, Agri Udan, and then followed by launching very customized programs such as equity funds for early stage startups and started building in IPs for startups. So in the point of view, we have around 180 startups that are very closely built, around 70 startups which have raised funding to the tune of around 450 crore INR. And there are almost like 45 companies which have built patents and have won a best incubator award from my previous incubator, A-Idea, Government of India. And at AgHub, what we are trying to do, AgHub is the incubation center under the Professor Jayashankar Telangana State Agriculture University. And we are trying to build an incubation center that helps technology companies, student-led companies, as well as rural companies to a first of its kind innovation hub and spoke model. As an incubation center, we are housed in Hyderabad, building startups and student entrepreneurs across India. We're also actively building rural enterprises across the state of Telangana through our upcoming rural incubation centers in Jagityal, Warangal, and Tandur. In the last 3.5 years of our operations since October 2020, we have been able to build and nurture around 100 companies, out of which 85 are technology companies, 7 are student companies, and another 8 are rural companies. So that's what we are doing right now, but it's a humble journey to create a very inclusive innovation and enterprise models, not just technology companies, but also equally student enterprises and rural enterprises that can change the fate of food and agriculture in India. And of course, for Telangana.
That is a very inspiring journey, sir. Really hats off for you for putting all the great work in. Thank you for each and every one, sir, for your work. Yeah. So let's begin. So my first question for you would be, can you tell us about the missions and goals of AG Hub in promoting agriculture innovations?
Okay. Our mission at Agri Hub is to kind of create a very inclusive innovation entrepreneurship. We believe that not just the new age technology startups, but student and rural companies can build a new age startup community which can change the farming community and their way of farming in the state of Telangana and of course India. Now, in the process of attaining this vision, we are trying to help the startups and rural enterprises and the student enterprises with access to knowledge, network, mentoring, handholding, and fundraising support. And how we have been able to do this is we have multiple formats. We have an incubation program, which is a first of its kind program to nurture rural enterprises access the state-of-art infrastructure of the Agriculture University for building the innovations and the R&D. Followed by we have business mentoring and the fundraising support. We also have first of its kind Agri Innovation Pilot Program to validate startup technologies. This is a unique platform where the startup technologies can be validated on the ground with the research validation of the university. And last but not the least, we also have Co-Innovation Program, which is India's first program in agri-tech where the startup founder can build a technology product with the agriculture scientists of the university. We have Enterprise Acceleration Program for SMEs to get into innovation. This is where we've been catalyzing. Through these 4 programs, we've been able to catalyze more than 85 plus technology startups from a pipeline of around 1,000 startups that approached us. We are also actively promoting student entrepreneurship through Design Thinking Program. In fact, we are the first in the country to have launched Design Thinking Program in the agriculture universities in India. And under the Design Thinking Program, so far we have done 7 Design Thinking programs and have trained more than 2,340 agriculture graduates and postgraduates on Design Thinking, have built around 600 ideas and now 7 student companies. This is what we have been able to do, inspire young minds in agriculture to create student-led companies in the agriculture sector. And we are also actively promoting grants and equity in the young early stage ideas for helping the ideas to get into products through innovation grants, what we call as a bootstrap grant. And we're also actively promoting funding among the early stage startups through a catalytic fund, which is an early stage equity fund, We invest in companies, we take shareholding in the companies. Through all these 10 programs, we've been able to catalyze more than 95 plus technology startups among the startups and student companies. But in the due course of time, we'll be building our 6 rural incubators in agri and food to catalyze the rural companies. But as of now, we have around 7 rural companies. Few are grassroots innovators, few are SHGs, few are FPOs that we are currently nurturing as a part of our rural enterprise building program.
Okay. Thank you, sir. That was such a wonderful journey. Really inspiring. So, for my next question, what are some key challenges facing the agriculture sector today, sir? And how is Ag Hub is addressing these challenges through your innovations?
So when we talk about the key challenges in agriculture, of course, India is today number one and number two in majority of the commodities, whether it be cereals or pulses or horticulture crops or milk. Majority of the commodities that you take, India is progressing well. But the issue is not about the production, the issue is a lot many. It could be issues around sustainability, issues around carbon, issues around climate. It could be issues around food wastage. It could be issues around urban farming. A lot of such issues are there. So there
Yeah.
is drastic change in agriculture seasons. So how do we tackle such complex emerging problems in the food and agriculture space? And that is where AgHub comes into picture. AgHub is an incubation sector which tries to handhold technology founders, change makers, startup founders, student, and rural innovators and enterprises who wants to bring change in food and agriculture sector. So as AgHub, we are focused on agri and allied sectors. We are promoting starters working in agriculture sector, horticulture, fishery, dairy, animal husbandry, all the allied sectors in agriculture. So that is where a lot of startups which come to us, we try to catalyze their ideas and try to solve the issues of agriculture. To give you a couple of examples of how we are catalyzing, I could have a startup which is a part of our validation program, startups like Marut or Thanos, which have been able to use drones for solving issues in agriculture. So drones which can solve the issues of spraying, imaging, pollination, agroforestry, and drone seeding, drone-based seeding applications. So we are trying to help companies work on these applications. There could be companies working on purple corn, for example, which are trying to use the benefits of purple corn in creating anthocyanins and using those products for the healthcare to solve the issues of psoriasis or maybe issues of the cancer care. There could be also be companies working on, let's say, drone-based hyperspectral imaging. Startups like Bharat Rohan, which are trying to use drone-based hyperspectral imaging for pest and disease analytics. There could be startups working on robotics, which like X Machines, which was recently funded by Coromandel, which was a part of our validation program to validate the use case of how robotics can be used in agriculture in crops like maize. There could be instances of startups like Satyuk using remote sensing and satellite imagery for irrigation advisory among the farming community. There could be startups which are working on electric tractors at AgHub, and these are startups which are trying to create a EV kind of ecosystem for tractor. There are startups which are working on sustainability, where we have startups working on carbon sequestration. The SMEs like Core Carbonex are working towards carbon sequestration and encouraging farmers to adopt to sustainability and carbon farming. And as a result, they're using alternate wetting and drying technology to use that carbon farming. And henceforth, the farmers which are adopting these, the final end produce, rice, which is grown under the carbon farming, we have a low carbon rice. So these are many such initiatives which are there. Companies working on agro photovoltaics, many such examples are there, which are not only solving the issues of current farming issues, but also on the other side, we are solving the issues of sustainability through agro photovoltaics carbon. On the other side, we are promoting starters working in allied sectors, companies like Country Chicken, which are promoting ecosystem for country chicken value chains. Companies like Robi Group Farm, which are working on the fishery ecosystem for promoting IoTs. There are startups like Liven, which are creating millet-based flatbreads and food tech companies. So we are working very inclusively on across agri-tech, food tech, supply chain tech, allied sectors, dairy, fishery, animal husbandry, sustainability, agro photovoltaics. The examples are umpteen, but these 100 are illustrative examples of how we've been able to transform agriculture by contributing innovations and startups which are coming into this sector. And last but not the least, every new innovation that comes in this sector, we try to help these startups to kind of create an innovation journey. We try to help them with the agriculture scientists. We help them connect to the agriculture labs, build the innovations. In fact, as a part of building innovations, out of the 100 technology and student and rural companies we have built so far, we've been able to build 10 and file innovations. And there are almost 10 technologies and innovations which have filed patents and have been sanctioned. 7 out of these 10 innovations which have filed patents have been granted with patents. So we are trying to build the ecosystem where not only the startups are built, but to the core innovations are built. The applications are built where the application can do multitasking abilities for farming community and to focus not just on agriculture, but also allied sectors from farm to fork, and also not just issues which are local, but also issues which are national and global in certain way, as much as when we talk about sustainability. So this is a circular approach that we are taking, trying to be more inclusive, making sure that we not only solve the issues of Telangana and community, not only the issues in agriculture allied sectors, not only the issues in the current, but also issues that can tackle the futuristic issues.
Thank you, sir. I was about to ask you for some examples, but you have already given me so many.
Yeah.
And we also had the founder of Country Chicken with us the other day. He was also telling about all this organic waste and how they are providing this supply chain of organic chicken and dairy products, poultry products. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for that. It is very inspiring what you are doing here, sir. I hope this goes on very well.
Yeah.
And also, my next question is, how do you collaborate with farmers and researchers and other stakeholders to foster this innovation in agriculture?
Since AGAB is a part of the State Agriculture University, the Professor Jayashankar Telangana State Agriculture University, we are naturally connected to the farming community by virtue of AGAB being a part of the Professor Jayashankar Agriculture University. And Professor Jayashankar Telangana State Agriculture University is the only agriculture university of the state of Telangana which has been catering to the farming community for many years. And how do we access that? We do access the farming community, the student community, and scientist community which are associated with the university. How do we engage that? One, because of the natural fact that AGAB has its rural incubation centers. AGAB has its rural incubation centers, and these rural incubation centers are those centers which are promoting rural innovation and entrepreneurship. For example, we have two agri and food incubators in Jagityal. The agri incubator is promoting rural enterprises with their ideas, and the food incubators on mango and spice paddy food processing in Jagityal is able to catalyze the food processing enterprises in the rural areas. In a similar way, Central Telangana, Warangal, we have agri and food processing incubator. The food processing incubator in Warangal is trying to solve the issues of spices food processing, especially the turmeric and chili. The oil seeds and millets are being taken in southern Telangana. In Tandoor, we have a safflower oil processing unit, and in Hyderabad, we have the millets ready to cook, ready to eat, and baking units. So, how we are trying to create the ecosystem is, since we have the rural incubators, we are not only creating the rural enterprises through these incubators, but on the other side, AgHub is also trying to connect these startups which are being built at the AgHub to the farming community via these rural incubators. So naturally, since we have the rural incubators, we are connecting to the farming communities via these rural incubators. That is answer number one. Second method that we're also trying to do is the university has an extension wing, which is the extension department. Its main role is to propagate the new technologies coming in agriculture to the farming community through DAT centers and Krishi Vigyan Kendras. We're also using that channel of the agriculture university, the extension department and the Krishi Vigyan Kendras and the DAT centers to propagate the agri technologies being built in the Ag Hub to go via the extension network of the university to reach out to the farming community. Last but not the least, we have also created a very customized, first of its kind program called as Ag Map, which is AG Map, Agritech Market Access Program. This is a very unique opportunity where the startup founders get to pitch their technologies and the products to the farming community. We have done already two such programs in Jagityal and Warangal. The intention is that not only the startup founders get an opportunity to pitch their technologies and products to the farming communities, SHGs, and FPOs. On the other side, the farmers also access the best of the innovations that are being nurtured at AgHub. I'll tell you one simple example. The last 3.5 years, we have had a case of around 1,000 innovations and ideas coming to AgHub, out of which we have carefully shortlisted and supported 100 such technology companies, student and rural companies. So you can say out of 1,000 companies, we have nurtured 1:10, and we have taken 100 such companies. And we have constantly engaged with those companies, making sure that the starters work with the scientists and the university ecosystem. So these 100, now the market-ready solutions, what we are doing, we are connecting these startups either via the rural incubation centers or via extension department of the university or via our Agritech market access program directly to the farming community. Last but not the least, another intention what we are also trying to do is to work with the other development partners. We are working with other NGOs and other non-profit partners. There could be instances where Ekalavya Foundation and Balavikasa and partners like AP Mas Sir, Srinidhi, various such partners we are talking to. In fact, we have also organized a rural incubators meet to work with other partners, including Cornell Sadhguru Foundation, to make sure that we are actively working with other enabling organizations in the ecosystem. And these are also partners who are also trying to help AgHub to make sure that the AgHub startups can reach out to the rural masses. So these are various efforts that we are doing to make sure that the startup communities either reach via AgHub's network or through our partners to the farming community.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing those. And also, congratulations on your AG map. So, in your opinion, sir, what role do innovation hubs like AG Hub play in driving the sustainable farming to its globally?
Okay. So right now, since the incubators are in emerging phase, I would like to say the agri incubation itself is like 20-year-old sector. India's first agri incubator started way back in 2005 in ICRISAT. And now we have almost 100 agri incubators in the country out of 500 incubators across all the sectors. So if we were to say 500 incubators contributing to almost 1 lakh plus startups across the country and 100 incubators in agriculture, where are we in terms of the number of startups, right? So these 500 incubators have contributed to 1 lakh startups across all sectors, but 100 incubators in agriculture have contributed to 3,000 startups in agriculture. So the number is not justified for a country like India, where 60% of population and more is dependent on food and agriculture. And henceforth, the question is, how do we solve local challenges but also global challenges? So we're in the innovation journey, I would like to say, and with almost 20 plus incubators among those 100 agri incubators, which are focused as institutions and which are trying to drive innovations, I would like to say AGAB is one of them. How are we trying to solve the issue of sustainability? Yes, we are trying to work on issues like sustainability. Few of the themes I'd like to mention. One of the startup like RenCube, AGAB is working on agro photovoltaics. This is a very unique company that works on agro photovoltaics. You are using this photovoltaics in the live farm. Conventionally, the photovoltaics are used in buildings or maybe commercial buildings or in wastelands. But never ever there has been a solution for doing solar farming in a live farm. Imagine you are a small farmer doing farmer and you cannot do a solar farm. The moment you put a solar farm, you allow shade and naturally it disallows the crops to grow. But this company, RenCube, has created a first of its kind agro photovoltaic company, which has created a mounted structure with interim panels and prisms being spread with a motion-free optical technology. And this is a very accessible technology. We have allowed the technology validation of this startup in the university itself, in a place called Technology Center. The technology validation has been completed and the technology is ready for the market access. These are some kind of companies which are talking about sustainability. On the other side, I have companies working like Core Carbonex, which are working on carbon sequestration, and they are allowing the farmers to convert from conventional farming to carbon farming through user alternate wetting and drying mechanism. This is another company which is encouraging the farmers to get into carbon sequestration and carbon farming and create carbon rice, low carbon rice. On the other side, this is largely being done in paddy. On the other side, we also have companies like TRST01, another startup working with AGA, which is working on a ESG measurement tool. ESG measurement is one of the important metric for measurement of triple bottom line, people, planet, and profits. As a part of this triple bottom line measurement, this startup TRST has created a ESG measurement tool and which can actually measure the kind of climate tech approaches that a company is taking for it to be able to claim the green energy kind of space. So we are trying to work on various such avenues which are talking about sustainability. We have companies working on bioformulations, which are creating bioformulations for the crops so that we are coming away from chemical-free agriculture. On the other side, we're also working on some ecosystems where we are trying to encourage ecotourism projects and companies working on regenerative agriculture. We're not only supporting startups in this domain, but also rural youth and women. And very interestingly, few mid-sized companies in agribusiness are also coming to AGUP to help create an ecosystem around regenerative agriculture and sustainability farming. These are a few examples to quote, but having said that, we not only focus on agri-tech, but we're also equally focusing on sustainable agriculture and regenerative farming. And that is where we have these kind of examples to quote in this direction.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. That is really awesome work you're putting into the sector. And how do you ensure that innovations promoted by AG Hub are accessible and beneficial for small scale farmers?
Yeah. So we always have that metric of small scale farmers in mind because most of the screening of the applications of most of the startups happens to the scientists of the university and also the agribusiness mentors that we have in the community. They always have small and marginal farmer in mind. We understand that there are more than 88% of Indian farms or farmers are small and marginal farmers with less than 1 acre of land, and average age of Indian farmer being 52 plus year old farmer, who is the youngest farmer probably in the country. And that is the kind of a challenge. We understand that kind of a scenario. Henceforth, most of the innovations are not only innovative and creative ideas, not only solving deep-rooted problems across agriculture, but we also understand the factor of affordability and accessibility. How are we driving that? One, of course, in the screening process, we understand how much of affordable and accessible are these innovations for farming community, number one. Number two, when we are implementing the models, we have technology validation program. What we call is Agri Innovation Pilot Program. Within technology validation program, these starters go and work with the scientists and also the farming community. So not only the startups get an opportunity to validate the technologies, but also they get an opportunity to kind of create these technologies in an affordable manner. And in the due course of time, most of the startups that we are currently working have slowly got into the digital and service mode. And most of the startups, the mode of delivery of these solutions is largely digital and service mode. This is also allowing the startups to reach in a more affordable manner to farming community. For example, there could be startups working with drones or robotics which are going with service model. So I don't think any farmer is encouraged to buy a drone. If they want to buy, well and good. If they don't want to buy, that is not stopping them. They can still call a drone for a service, or they can call robotics. Robotics as a service is also another dimension which we are trying to build in the agri-tech ecosystem. Number one. Number two, most of the digital startups which are working on IoTs, AI, or machine learning or blockchain are going with digital platforms. They're going with platforms where the farmers can subscribe the models or they can pay per use. So this is allowing again the farmers to afford these kind of innovations. So what we are trying to say is most of the startups understand this part, and on the other side, AgHub is also encouraging the startups to customize their delivery solutions and kind of deliver their innovations in a more effective manner. And the answer is either digital or service motive, under which they are trying to work not only with farmers but also on the other side we are connecting these startups to connect to the digital ecosystem, because most often what happens is the early stage startups, they can connect to the farming community and FPOs largely. There's on the other side, since AgHub is also working with the digital ecosystems and we are trying to help these startups reach out to the farming community. There are also extension platforms which can also connect these startups to the farming community. And very interestingly, the AgHub is in a position not only to connect the startups to farmers, but also the FPOs, which are largely promoted by NABARD or SFSC for that matter, APMAS, CERT, and also Ekalavya Foundation, many such non-profits which are very active in the ecosystem. So this is a multi-pronged approach where we are making sure that the innovation becomes more affordable, either through a digital approach or a service approach, or the last method is where we are connecting to the FPOs, where FPO has a larger leverage to have access to innovation because of a aggregated capacity of that FPO, because of the larger size of farming community engaged with the FPO. These are few approaches that we are taking. Well, last but not the least, we're also encouraging progressive farmers who can also understand that innovation and take it forward, so that the ecosystem can also accept from the progressive farmers and can naturally propagate to other farmers in the sector. And very interesting examples I like to quote. For example, when you talk about, let's say, affordability, we have one startup which is working on low cost mechanization. The example is Oscillo. Oscillo Machines is a startup which is working on low cost paddy transplanter and weeder. And this paddy transplanter and weeder can, if you really see the example of a transplanter in a typical paddy farm, a harvesting scenario or a transplanting scenario, at least transplanting scenario would take at least 15 labor on a day per acre. But the same transplanter with only 3 labor can replace 15 labor and can do the job very efficiently. Why we are doing that? It is not for labor replacement, but on the other fact that the farmers are also facing a challenge to access the labor. If you talk to any farmer at the grassroots level, they will express this challenge that they are not able to access the labor. Either accessibility is an issue or affordability is an issue. So these kind of innovations, low cost innovations, are being created and nurtured, making sure that these innovations become more accessible to the farming community. On the other side, we also have started working on AI-based grading solutions. So startups like SuperZob, which is working on AI-based grading solutions. Startups like, let's say, Roots Goods, which is working on AI-based grading solutions for maize. And these AI-based grading solutions also work on subscription basis with the farming community. So many such examples are there where innovations, acceptability, affordability, and accessibility are being made sure that it reaches to the farmer in a more effective manner. Last but not the least, the people who are running AgHub, we understand innovation. We also understand equally not just the science but also the agri businesses. And henceforth, we are trying to create an ecosystem where the startups access the farmers, equally the farmers access innovation. And the mantra is, of course, the accessibility, affordability, and also the adjustability. The farmers to adjust to a new ecosystem that is really new to the farming and the agriculture ecosystem. This is what we've been doing.
Yes, sir. Like you said, most of the farmers might not understand technology very well, so the adjustability of them is very important here.
Yeah.
And for my last question, what are some emerging trends of or areas of focus in agriculture innovation you find particularly promising?
Okay, in terms of agriculture innovations, in the early days of agri-tech, when we talk about 2010 to 15, we were talking about mostly few digital technologies, or we were talking about delivery models, we were talking about food delivery models, agri input marketplaces, agri output marketplaces. But probably after the Startup India initiative, after 2015, a lot of product technology companies or technology companies started companies, and most of the IoT, AI, robotic, machine learning, blockchain, these kind of companies started coming into the ecosystem. So the trend has been very constant that the last 10 years, by and large, between 2015 to 2024, we've been seeing emergence of a lot of agri-tech companies which are talking about technologies and product-based companies. But now, if you see in the ecosystem, There are few marketplace companies on both agri input and agri output which have been there for quite a while, but of late there have been many such agri-tech companies which have been trying to solve the agricultural issues from farm to fork. Startup working on various things. IoT companies working on, let's say, irrigation, or AI companies working on grading, blockchain companies working on traceability, robotic companies working on weeding or harvesting. Likewise, few companies based on some technologies and products or digital interfaces have been able to come into the farming sector. But you also see few startups emerging and specializing into allied sectors. I also see slowly 10 to 15% of the ecosystem being taken by the startups in the allied sectors. There are new age startups working on dairy, country chicken, fishery, animal husbandry, animal health. Likewise, these kind of pet health, pet care, these kind of ecosystem, pet food. So these kind of systems which are emerging. That's the allied sector. The third bucket we're also seeing is where the startups are also trying to work on the element of sustainability, which is not only to deal with the agri-tech or the agriculture issues, but to work on the global issues. And that is where the US started working on sustainability are moving in. So broadly, we could say there are three buckets: started working on agri-tech, started working on allied sector tech, and started also working on sustainability and sustainable development goals and the circularity aspect, or regenerative agriculture, or carbon or climate. These are the things that people are talking about, the bigger problems, the global problems, which is to do something with the globe or earth and nature or biodiversity. So this is how the ecosystem is slowly evolving, and the startups are maturing. The existing startups are also maturing. On the other side, the startups also slowly, early stage startups are trying to diversify into the other sectors of allied and also carbon and climate and sustainability. But having said that, the startups working in carbon, climate, allied sectors is still very less. I would like to say less than 50 to 20% of the ecosystem. But conventionally, 80 to 85% of the ecosystem is largely dominated by agri-tech solutions. But I believe a balance of agri-tech vis-a-vis the allied sector technology and the carbon and sustainability themes, when we balance out, I'm sure we will have solutions in the long term that are not only helpful for solving current issues of agriculture, but also the future issues of agriculture. And last but not the least, balance issues of not just the region, but also the nation and the globe in the due course of time. It is just a matter of time, and there is a need for, last but not the least, since there are many incubators which are promoting agri-tech, henceforth many solutions are around agri-tech. There's a need for emergence of platforms that can focus on climate tech, sustainability, sustainable development goals and circularity, and climate tech focus and clean tech building into agri-tech. So these are many such sub things which needs to be built in. There is a need for more partnerships, more incubators which are focused in these specialized themes to be able to create that pipeline of innovations and help such kind of balance between agri-tech and the future climate tech. That is how we can balance this. But this is a kind of a picture that is emerging.
Yeah, these collaborative projects would be very useful for everyone, and they might be the stepping stones for future as well.
Yeah.
So thank you, sir. This was such an inspiring session for everyone. I'd like to conclude the session here, and thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming here and enlightening us with all these new technologies in agriculture.
Sure.
Thank you so much for that, sir.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for calling me here. Thank you, Business Mint, for calling me here. I know a lot of good work being done by Vinay and team, and thank you, Ms. Lohita, for calling me here.
Thank you.
It's great to be here, and I encourage such platforms. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for the audience also to understand the ecosystem, and
Yes.
this series of workshops that are being done by the South India Business Week, and probably the first of its kind where a digital conference is being organized at this massive
This is
scale.
the first time we are trying in this place.
So I understand the value that you're trying to deliver. So all the kudos and the compliments to the businessman team, Vinay and team, of course, all of you, and all the support from backup side. Please do reach out to us for any support. And last but not the least, any more information required from the stakeholders. On a closing note, I request you to kindly access AGHUB website. We are available on www.ag-hubhubco, www.ag-hub.co. If more so required, you can reach out to me on my number. It's 99 899 28773, or alternatively write at ceo@ag-hub.co. Thank you so much for this opportunity once again, and thank you all the wonderful audience.
Thank you so much, sir. And also, audience, you can connect with sir on our website itself. You can just tap on his profile and message sir directly in the website as well. Thank you so much, sir, for this. And we are looking forward for future events as well, where we get to work with you again.
Sure. Thank you so much for calling. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for this wonderful session.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah. Good day. Bye bye.
Good
Yeah.
to see you. Thank you.
Bye. I'm logging off. Thanks.
Thank you.